Hello everybody, welcome to Sane Game Studios. I'm Sane, I'm an amateur game developer. I did a state machine video a little while back and one of my viewers was having some issues with the wall mounting system that I used as an example for my state machine. I can't remember off the top of my head what this guy's name was, so I will be printing it on the screen right here. Due to the fact that this is not quite a tutorial, it's more of a community help thing. I'm going to be creating a new playlist called Community Aid, and that's where I'm going to be throwing this video in. So this viewer had a couple problems. He had one problem where he was walking and wall mounting, and I honestly could not replicate that issue. So I'm going to be putting my Discord username down in the description. You can go ahead and message me on Discord and I can see some screenshots of your code and then maybe I can help you figure out exactly why that is happening. The other thing that this viewer had an issue with is when it wasn't quite an issue, it was more of a question. It was wondering how to wall mount certain walls and not others. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on in this video. So I'm going to go through what I have for a project first, and it is essentially just a copy of what I made for my state machine video. I watched my state machine video and tried to replicate the project as accurately as I could. But I'm going to start off by showing how to avoid partial mounts, which is where if you were like meeting the wall but only in like the bottom corner, but you're not meeting the wall in like the top corner, you don't actually mount the wall until you have a full meet all the way up the side of your sprite to facilitate the wall mount. And then the next thing I'm going to be looking at is how to flag certain walls as mountable and only mount the ones that are flagged as mountable. And then the way I'm going to be doing that, it will also be possible to change whether or not they are mountable at wall time by adjusting a variable. So all you would have to do is just grab the ID of the instance that you would want to flag as mountable or unflag as mountable so it is no longer mountable. You just have to grab its ID, change that variable, and then away you go. So like always, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start it pretty much right now, is I'm just going to go over the project as it is. I had another user wish that I wasn't doing this step and just getting into the code right away, but I like to keep this available for people who are extremely new to Gamemaker and they can see everything that's happening under the hood of my project before I go ahead and try to teach them something new. But just in case it's something that you don't want to watch, you can go ahead and skip this part of the video and just go right on to the next timestamp. So with that, all I have is two sprites. I just got two squares. I got my pink player square and my blue wall square. I have one room, and the room just consists of a few walls and a player. The only thing I've changed in this room from the previous project is I've added these partial walls for the purpose of this video. In my objects, I have two objects. I have O player and O wall. And my O wall object, as you can see, has no code. And I'm doing everything in the O player event. So in this object, in my create event, I'm declaring an enum for my player state. I'm creating a variable to store what state I'm currently in. I'm declaring my variables for getting my player input. I'm declaring my variables for calculating my speed. And I'm declaring my variables for calculating my speed with calculating my speed. Like I use these to figure out what my HSP and VSP is going to be, and then I use my HSP and VSP to move either horizontally or vertically. And then finally, I'm declaring another variable called grounded, and I use that to determine whether or not I'm currently standing on the ground. I have a variable called onWall that I just have set to 0, and I'm using that to figure out whether or not I want to be wall mounting. And I also have wall jump timer. I have that set to 25, and that's going to make sure that we jump off the wall far enough to not be able to just turn around and climb a wall using my wall jumps. So if I were to go to my step event now, so I'm using a switch statement to build my state machine, and I'm separating my state machine into multiple regions. As you can see, I have 3 regions, and each region contains a state. So if I go to my default state, I have my case player state.default, and then I'm just grabbing my player input. I'm using a local variable called move to determine whether or not I should be moving, and if I should be moving in what direction. If I'm holding the left key, it's going to equal -1, which is going to move me in the negative direction on the x-axis, which is to the left. And then if I'm holding the right key, I'm going to get +1, and that's going to do the same thing but to the right in a positive direction. And then if I'm hitting them both, they're going to zero each other out and I won't move at all. I am calculating my horizontal speed by multiplying my walk speed by this variable, which is going to have me move in the respective direction. Next, I'm seeing whether or not I'm currently on the ground. And if I am currently on the ground, I'm saying that if I press the up key, I'm going to minus my jump height off of my vertical speed. And then down here, I'm constantly adding gravity to my vertical speed. But if I'm not on the ground, it's like if grounded, else. So if I'm not on the ground, and if on wall equals 0, I'm saying that on wall equals place meeting x plus 1 y o wall minus place meeting x minus 1 y o wall. And the reason why I'm able to do this is because place meeting is a Boolean, and it returns either a true or a false, a 0 or a 1. And I can use that to figure out what direction I'm hitting a wall in. So if I'm hitting a wall to the left, x minus 1, and I'm not hitting a wall to the right, which is x plus 1, then it's going to be 0 minus 1, and that's going to give me -1, which is going to give me the direction of the wall, and it's going to store that direction in the on-wall variable. But if on-wall does not equal 0, which means that I am not in the air and I have also found a wall, I'm going to see if on wall is equal to key right minus key left. So what I am doing is I'm seeing whether or not I am pressing a key in the same direction that there is a wall, which is how the player is going to tell the game that they want to mount that wall. And if that is the case, I am changing my state to player state.wallMount. Like I said, I'm adding gravity to my vertical speed. Here, I'm saying if place meeting x plus HSP YO wall, which means I'm hitting a wall horizontally on the x-axis. If I were to move one more time, I'm setting my horizontal speed to 0. That way, I am not able to clip into walls. But if I am not meeting a wall, I'm setting on wall to 0. And that is so that I can run this check again later. I'm doing the same thing here with the vertical axis, and I'm checking my my Y position versus plus my vertical speed to see if I'm going to be colliding with O wall, because it's the same object that I use for my ground collisions. And if this is true, I'm going to set my vertical speed to 0, and I'm also going to set grounded to true, so that way I know that I am on the ground. But if I am not place meeting, I'm going to set grounded to false. So when it comes to the viewer having an issue with being able to mount walls while not in the air, I would be looking at this line and making sure that grounded is being set properly and that also on wall is being reset. Like I said, I could not for the life of me replicate his issue. I really did try, and those are the only things that I can think of that would cause it. But when I was playing around with those things, it didn't behave the way that he was describing. So again, please, my Discord username is going to be down in the description. Please get a hold of me and show me your code, and I will absolutely try to help you. Finally, I am committing to my movement by adding my vertical speed and my horizontal speed to my X and Y variables. Then I can collapse this region. I can look at my wall mount state. In my wall mount state, I'm just grabbing the player input for key up and key down. There is no situation in which I'm going to be needing to move left or right while I'm wall mounted, so I'm not even going to bother updating those variables. If I am wall mounted and I hit the down key, I'm going to be changing my player state to default, and then I'm going to be hard setting my on wall to 0 so that I will be prepared to mount a wall in the next frame. If I press the up key, I'm going to be changing my state to player state.walljump, but I'm also minusing 7 off of my vertical speed. That way, I am setting my jump height once and then immediately changing state. In my wall jump state, I'm just applying gravity to my my vertical speed, and then I am also applying my horizontal speed by multiplying walk speed by negative on wall. And the reason why I'm doing negative on wall is because I know that on wall is the direction of the wall that I am mounted. So if I were to go negative on wall, it will always be away from the wall that I have mounted. And then finally, I am adding my X and Y position. I'm adding my HSP and my VSP to my X and Y position. One thing I did notice when I was trying to replicate the issues that the viewer had is that you can manipulate the wall jump state to be able to jump through walls. You can clip through walls using the wall jump state set up as it is, and that is because I don't have any collisions. So if you have a situation in which you could facilitate clipping through walls during your wall jump, you may want to add collisions to your wall jump so that that is no longer possible. Because the collisions are in a different state, I'm not actually running these collisions while I'm in my wall jumping state. So I might, if I was building an actual project, I would be adding collisions to this state. Finally, if my wall jump timer is greater than 0, because remember in the create event I'm setting it to 25, I'm going to be minusing 1 off of it every single frame until it hits 0. When it does hit 0, I'm going to be setting my state back to player state.default to return full control to the player, and then finally I'm going to be setting my wall jump timer to equal 25. And then if I were to run this project, as you can see, I have a pink square. It moves around. I can jump up and I can mount a wall and I can jump off of that wall. But also in the wall jump state, I can clip into a wall and get stuck. So this is a perfect example right here of why you would want to program in some collisions. So the first thing I'm going to be focusing on is with my current wall jump, I am able to mount a wall like that, and I don't want to be able to do that. I want to have to be completely flush with the top of my sprite so that it doesn't look like I am only touching like with my feet. If I actually had like a animated sprite that showed this, it would look very wonky because I would be looking like I'm touching a wall up here, but your hand would be up in the air and only your feet would actually be on the wall, and that's not something that we want. We want to be able to mount the wall pretty much perfectly. So to fix that, I am going to do a couple things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my default state, because this is where we're changing into player state.wallMount, and I'm going to add some conditions for when I do that. So to do this, what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to be adding a couple more collision checks just to make sure that I am colliding both on the top and bottom of my sprite. You can go ahead and argue with me that I will be creating a loss in performance by running so many collision checks, but I do think that it becomes a little bit null and void as an argument once you realize that I am only doing it when this condition is met, and if this condition is met, chances are you're purposely mounting a wall. And if you don't meet the required conditions to actually meet the wall, you're probably only going to be running these additional checks for probably like 3 or 4, maybe like 5 or 6 frames. And it's not actually going to have a massive detriment on your performance unless you were doing a ton of collision checks or doing like a complicated lighting system throughout your project. So I'm going to be using my B-box bottom and my B-box top. So when I'm talking about my B-box, so if I were to go to my sprite and I were to look at the collision mask, everything that is dark, that is the collision mask. That is the area in the game in which the object actually inhabits. And the Gamemaker has a couple built-in variables that detect certain sections of your collision mask. So B-box bottom is just going to be the bottom pixel. B-box top is only going to be the top pixel, and then B-box right will only be this edge, and B-box left will only be that edge. So if I go back to my step event, I can say if place meeting x plus on wall. And the reason why I'm doing x plus on wall is I know that on wall is always going to be storing the direction in which the wall is, so I can use on wall to check one pixel in the proper direction regardless of what that direction is. And then I'm going to be checking my bbox bottom. I'm going to be checking it with O wall. And the double ampersand is actually the same thing as just going and what that's going to do is it's going to make it so that in order for the next piece of code to run, both of these conditions need to be met. So I'm just going to add another place meeting. I'm going to go x plus on wall. I'm going to go bbox top minus 8 O wall. And the reason why I'm doing minus 8 is because for a reason that I don't know, there is actually, I was still able to slightly be above the wall when mounting, when using bbox top, and minus 8 is what I needed to fix that. So if place meeting x plus on wall bbox bottom O wall and x plus on wall bbox top minus 8 in O wall, then I'm going to be changing my state to player state.wall mount. So if I were to run this now, let's say I was standing on this wall and I wanted to mount onto the side of it, I will slide down the side of it until I am perfectly flush with the top. I'm not sure exactly how perfectly flush that is. It might be slightly below by the looks of things, but it looks good. So that is a very quick, simple way to make sure that you are perfectly married to the wall. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you guys how to make it so that you can flag walls as mountable and flag them as unmountable. And there's a couple things that we're going to have to do. So I'm going to go to my create event, and on wall, instead of having it equal 0, I'm going to have it equal no one. And then I'm going to add a new variable, and I'm going to call it on wall direction, and it's going to equal 0. So what I'm going to be doing is, instead of just figuring out whether or not I am on a wall, I'm actually going to be finding the ID of the wall that I am on, and I'm going to be storing it in the on wall variable. But since I use on wall to determine direction, I'm going to have to use on wall direction to store the direction for like my wall jumping and stuff like that. So here, I'm just going to delete all that code because we're going to do this completely differently. And actually, I'm going to go back to my workspace. I'm going to go to OWall. We're going to add a tiny little chunk of code. I'm going to go to my variable definitions. And there's a reason why I'm going to be doing this in variable definitions and not in the create event, and you will be seeing why. And I'm going to call this mountable. And I'm going to turn it into a Boolean, and it's going to automatically default to true, which is good because I want the walls to default to being mountable. So now, instead of figuring out whether or not I am currently hitting a wall, I'm going to be doing an instant place check to grab the ID of a wall, and I'm going to be seeing if that returns no one or not. So I'm going to say on wall equals instance place x plus key right minus key left. Y O wall. So what I'm doing here is I am seeing if I am up against a wall and I am hitting a key in a specific direction. I'm going to be looking 1 pixel out of my collision mask in that direction to see whether or not there is a wall there. And if there is a wall there, the ID is going to be stored in on wall. Otherwise, this is going to return a flag of no one, and no one is equal to -4, I believe. But now that we have done this, we are just going to check to see if onWall equals no one. So if onWall does not equal no one, which means that we have found a wall. We have found a wall in this position, and we have stored its ID in this variable, and now we are checking to see if an ID was actually found. And if an ID was actually found, I'm then going to go if onWall.Mountable equals true. And I actually don't need to do the equals true part. I can just go if onWall.Mountable. That's the exact same thing. If I wanted to check if it was not mountable, I could just put an exclamation mark right there. But that is all I need to do to solve this issue. And then I'm going to change my state to equal. No, actually, wait. I'm going to change my state to equal onWall direction, and it's going to equal key right minus key left. And I could have set my state first, and this line still would have ran. One thing I like to do, just for more peace of mind than anything, is if I need to establish variables for a state, I like to establish them before the state actually gets changed. It doesn't actually get changed until the next frame, and this line would still get ran even if it was below my state change. I just, for peace of mind, like to do it before I run the state change. So I'm going to say state equals player state dot wall mount. But like I said, onWall as a variable can no longer be used in our wall jump state, and I now need to use this variable. But it is being used the same way as onWall. So again, in my wall jump state, I want to use the negative of it. So I'm just going to change this to dir, so onWall direction, and that's going to solve that issue. And if I were to run this game now, you're going to see that it's going to operate the exact same way as before. Nothing has changed. That's the only thing that's changed, is I'm no longer doing that check, so I can mount it from any position on the player. But we want to be able to see a wall no longer be mountable. And then also, if you wanted to make sure that you had the lined up mounting like I had, you can just do the same, like if, place meeting and place meeting. You can do the exact same process. The only difference is that you would essentially just grab this information, but instead of wall, just go bbox bottom, and instead of wall, you would just punch in the ID, and you would just check for a collision with the onWall. And that is just how you would go about combining these two different methods. Alright, so now that we have the mountable variable set, and we are grabbing the ID and then seeing if we have an ID, and then checking if that ID is mountable, and then if it is, mounting it, we can now go into the room, and right here, there actually is an object editor inside of the room. So what I can do is you can go to edit object and you can edit a lot of things here. You can edit the events and everything. But if you edit the events, you're going to be editing the events, I believe, not just for this instance. You're going to be, you see it opened up on wall. You're going to be changing the actual object, not the instance of that object. And that's what happens when you click the edit object. One thing you can do on an instance by instance variable, instance by instance case though, is you can open up the variables window and you can change these variables. So I'm going to change that to false. So that makes this wall right here is no longer mountable. So I'm going to make this wall a bit bigger and let's see if it works. I know it will, but let me show you guys. So like I can mount that. I can even mount that. But what I can't mount is that. And then like I said, if you wanted to change something from mountable to unmountable at runtime, like let's say you had a wall that was ice, but you could like defrost it. And when it's defrosted, you can mount it, but when it's icy, you can't because it's slippery. What you would just have to do is just grab the ID of the instance you want to change, and you use code, and you just change that variable of that instance. I can show you real quick. So I'm going to change the instance ID because this right here, this is the instance ID. When I am grabbing a wall and I'm punching I'm grabbing the ID of the instance with my instance place, this is what I am grabbing. I can change this and I can just be like wall 17. And then here, and I'm going to go to my workspace just to keep this simple. I'm going to go key pressed, shift. If I press the shift key, wall 17 dot mountable equals negative wall 17 dot mountable. And what this is going to do is it's just going to change a true to false and a false to true anytime I hit the shift key. So if I go into my project now, as you can see, I can't mount it, but if I hit shift, it's not working. So I'm going to go if wall 17 dot mountable wall 17 dot mountable equals false, else wall 17 dot mountable equals true. Yeah, okay, that's working. So I can go up to the wall and I can hit it. Oh, don't have collisions. So upon creation, this is not mountable. I cannot mount it, but I hit shift and I can mount it. And then let's say I were to go to my draw GUI event. I'm just going to go draw text 50/50 string on wall Oh, I honestly thought that it was going to say wall 17 up there, but it is not. But that's fine. Doesn't matter if it says wall 17 or not. I know that I can refer to that wall as wall 17 in code, and it works just dandy. And that is how you choose what walls you can mount to and what ones you can't. I'm not saying that that's the best way to do it. I'm saying that's the best way that I know how to do it. And if I were to go ahead and try to achieve that effect, that is how I would do it. So, thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please comment them down below. If you're having any troubles with any of my tutorials and you would like a video like this made for you, comment on the video that you're having trouble with, and I will do my best to help you. And if I can't help you by just responding to a comment, I will make a video like this and I will help you. To the guy that needed help, again, can't remember your name top of my head. It's like Samurai something. Thank you very much for taking advantage of getting help. And if you cannot figure out why you are mounting walls while you're on the ground, again, my Discord username is going to be down in the description. Please use it to reach out to me directly. But with that, normal YouTuber jargon of please like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys are having a good one, and peace out.